Wait, did they actually listen to us? Damn. So this is the new and updated adidas F50 Plus, which fixes a lot of the, should we call them challenges, that the boot from last year had, which in my book makes it so good and so unique that we're talking about one of the fastest feeling football boots on the market right now. And also, it's kind of managed to convert me from being, well, really skeptical, justifiably so, to, dare I say it, actually liking it a lot. So in today's video, I'll go over what the boot does really well, and of course also mention some of the things that annoy me a bit to hopefully help you decide if you should cop or drop. And if you want to buy, it's in the link right up there. Because I'm JayMike, and this is my review of the 2025 Adidas F50 Plus. So on last year's F50 Plus, Adidas fumbled a bit by having a laceless fiber touch upper that kinda negated a lot of the extra responsiveness that you get from the sole plate. So they went back to the drawing board, and the solution was to add laces, finally, and also give us an upper material that feels quite familiar. Firstly though, laces. Genuinely Adidas, thank you. And well done. I mean, listening to player feedback into the community is a very powerful thing, and you did right. But the upper material on the F50 Plus is also a bit of a crowd pleaser, or at least a Jay pleaser, if you will. I love it. Because it very much bears resemblance to what we got on the Crazy Fast Plus, with this open mesh base that's coated with a thin silicone film for protection, and then you have a suede support cage on the inside for a little bit of stability and to help that secure fit around your foot. And wow, what a package. Because apart from being like really, really thin, it's also soft, which means that it just fits so easily around your foot right out of the box. I wouldn't call it sock-like, but more very cloth-like, where it kind of feels, painted on your foot because it is so soft and so thin. And especially with the shape of the F50, where you have like that natural width at this point in the forefoot and a slightly sleeker shape in the midfoot, it just fits really good and just falls nicely around the curvature of my foot at least. And again, think like spray painted on, seriously. And especially when you combine it with the shape of the toe box, where there's decent volume and it still sits relatively snug around my toes at least. It's just nice because the upper is so soft that it feels up close and personal, but never at any point have I felt it to be claustrophobic or uncomfortable. So what an upper package with laces. So yeah, I am sold. It's not that it's comfortable in this classic, thick, plush, cozy, pillowy way, but it just fits so effortlessly, so freely on the foot, and I find that to be really comfortable as well. The upper is thin though, and usually you'd think that a really thin upper doesn't have that much structural integrity, so the lockdown would suck. But I will say though that for me, the F50 Plus here, it has infinitely better lockdown than the previous version, and it's decent. Maybe slightly above average, for me at least if I make sure to pull the laces tight all the way up and with all the lace holes, and also convert this into using the runner's loop in the last two lace holes to really just fixate my foot and push it as firmly far back into the heel as I possibly can. And speaking of the heel, I actually think it's relatively... It's not the best heel in the world, but I think it works. Because for me, I have a relatively slim heel. I could have done with a slightly narrower fit or a little bit more foam right there to kind of pinch my foot a little bit better. But I reckon that if you have a medium to a wide heel shape, it's gonna be solid. Again, it's not the best ever, but it works. Size-wise, I've gone through the size, my usual Adidas size, UK 6.5, Europe 40, and a Japan size 25 centimeters. That's the length of my foot. And the length here is absolutely perfect, just how I want it. And width-wise, I actually think this is gonna fit a lot of people really well. Not only because of the U-throat opening here, where you can really open up to how much you desire, or basically pull it in with a thin foot to really adjust it to your needs, but also because the upper is just so soft that no matter how wide your foot is, it's just gonna stretch and mold nicely around it. It just conforms to your foot. And you wonder why they didn't do it on that one, because this is really good. We will, of
course, also need to talk about the outsole, where Adidas wants to maximize your energy return and give you a firmer, more responsive plate when you push off, and just take speed to the max.
They have done that using these two Lightstrike Pro foam pods, one here, and then having an extra plate underneath, meaning that when you put your foot down into the ground, initially as you push into the foam, it feels kind of cushioned and a little bit, squishy until you reach that bottom plate that's very stiff and gives you this solid base for your foot to push off from. Of course, what also happens is that the foam starts to expand again, giving you this very, very intense energy return. And that means that pushing off in these feels so responsive. Like no kidding, it's unlike anything I've ever tried before. Of course, both when running in like a straight line, but also in fact, when putting your foot down at an angle to change direction. You might fear that it feels a bit unstable because of all the extra bulk, but because there are two pods that are separate, when you put your foot down at an angle, only one pod compresses, giving you that right feeling where it's not like super unstable. So genuinely, a very unique feeling, but also extremely fun. And it just feels as if it works. It's definitely not gonna be for everyone, but to me, it does what it says on the box. So while special, it's really a matter of whether you want that admittedly super, uber responsive feeling that you won't find anywhere else and you can kind of live with the extra bulk, or if you want to keep it more traditional and nimble and lower to the ground. I can't make that decision for you, and while I would probably lean towards the traditional feel, this is fun.
As for the touch, Adidas have updated their sprint web microtexturing on all the F50 boots to this chevron-shaped pattern, and it's a nice little addition to the otherwise paper-thin feel in the F50 Plus.
And let me just get it out there right away. If you like, or even love, a padded, soft, elegant cushion feel on the ball, the F50 Plus is definitely not for you, because the touch in these is sharp. Like I'm talking razor sharp, with this being one of the thinnest uppers and sharpest feels, closest feels on the ball that I can think of, maybe alongside the Under Armour Magnetico. And personally, I like that feel. It's extreme, absolutely, but I like that it's very honest and transparent, where you feel every single little thing you do on the ball. What you also feel is the little bit of texturing here, which is actually nice because it doesn't really hinder the softness of the upper, but it gives you that little bit of extra tactility on the ball, to the point where it's like a mental switch in my head that it gives me that extra little bit of confidence that there is some sort of heightened feeling of grip. It won't turn you into Messi in any capacity, but it's nice to have it there. And speaking of, an extra something, obviously the added ball from the outsole adds a different feeling when you shoot and pass the ball, because it's just got a firmer feel, especially of course if you hit the ball in this area, that for me took a while to get used to. When I tried these for the first time last year, I was like, nah, I'm not vibing with this at all. But to be fair, after using it for a couple of sessions, my brain slowly adjusted to the point where I don't have as much to complain about as I think I would have. But it is polarizing, that's for sure.
But speaking of complaining, the F50 Plus, as expected, does also have a few annoying things to it that you need to know about.
And there's no way around it. The extra bulk, which, as I said, yes, you can get used to it, but it does just feel different because your foot sits higher off the ground, your toes are pointing a little bit more upwards, and it's just such a, I wouldn't call it weird sensation, but something different that not everyone will love. And there's also the fact that you just have this big chunk of foam underneath the foot, basically, that when you strike the ball, all of a sudden there's foam where my brain is normally used to there being like the bottom part of my foot. And it takes a while to adjust to, at which point some players might just think, hell nah, and no bout. And secondly, there is protection. Look, if you get stepped on in any football boot, it's going to hurt, but in the F50 Plus, there's nothing. Like, it is literally paper thin, so you'll feel every little stud graze, everything. It is what it is. And personally, I find the laces to be a little bit too thin and maybe also too slippery to really maintain that hold and the tension in the upper that I need in order to feel securely held in place. And after swapping them out with the thicker laces from the regular F50 Elite on another pair I have, it just felt significantly better and the lockdown actually improved a little bit. So I get the whole let's make them thinner to save some weight thing, but personally, I just prefer better lockdown over saving a few grams.
Oh, and the heel fits a little more loose than it does on the regular 50, which means that I've absolutely needed to compensate with the runner's loop and some grip socks. Because otherwise, I didn't get the pinch and the heel lock-in that I need.
And finally, there is the price, where this bad boy is still 300 euros. And that is an eye-watering amount of money for a pair of football boots that might need a little bit of, persuading people for them to buy it. So if Adidas really wanted to do that, I think it's too much money.
At the end of the day though, I've kind of been converted and I'll need to take the F50 Plus seriously now as a boot that I genuinely enjoy wearing.
Look, there's no question about it. The outsole is very polarizing, and I've said it before, it's not going to be for everyone. But at the same time, it is a lot of fun, it's extremely unique, and as I said earlier, I also reckon it is the fastest feeling speed boot in the game. However, for me, it is the upper that's the star of the show. And one can only imagine what it would be like if you took this upper and slapped it on the regular F50 Elite outsole. Woo! So Adidas, if you want to do that one day, here's the idea. I'll take 10%. You're welcome, but it is what it is. But guys and girls, I really want to know what you think of the updated Adidas F50 Plus here. Is it something for you? And if that's the case, well, you can hit it in the link right over there. But if not, let me just know in the comment section right down. Do that regardless. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel with the notifications on. If you want to see the review of the old boot that wasn't as great as this one, well, you can do that on the screen. And it's all good and love. And hey, I'll be signing off. Cheerio. What the f was that?